Welcome to That's What She Said, where we'll spill the tea on women empowerment in the Great Lakes Bay region with your host, Christiana Malacara.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to That's What She Said. Thank you so much for tuning in this week and all the past weeks and hopefully all the future weeks of That's What She Said. The ways that you can tune in, it's so easy to do. It's so easy to take that step and that investment in yourself each and every week here on social media. Which is easy and accessible and at your fingertips. Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, all those fun places you can find us. That's What She Said, live Thursdays at 1:30. Over the weekend on the airwaves, 100.5 and 790. Saturday morning at 8 a.m. and then Sunday at 6 p.m. That is my favorite time to listen personally. Just it's that good reset, that good recharge of, hey, you know what? I got it. This week is going to be wonderful. And Christiana's going to tell me how cool I am, because you're very cool. And then also anywhere that you listen to your podcast, search us. Just look. Just remember to add That's What She Said with Christiana Malacara. As always, if you have any questions, recommendations, anybody in your life that has empowered you, or maybe you think you are that person that's creating that ripple effect in the community, in your family, we would love to learn more about you or her and have a conversation. So as many of you know who have been following us for some time now, I write things down, I journal. I've been getting, poured into all of this advice from wonderful women across the Great Lakes Bay region in Michigan. And one of the common threads was just write it down. If you have an idea, write it down. If you have a worry, write it down. And I've been doing that. And pretty soon I'm just going to jump into this. But what I had wrote down was, what if everything you're doing is preparing you for the next step? So some of the things that we do and we move through with intention. And we've talked about this on a past episode, is creating situations with intention. I'm going to go do this. I'm going to apply to college because I want to go to college. Right. But then also we just do things. We just wake up and, I'm going to go volunteer here because I saw it on Facebook. Or, you know what, this girl looks kind of lonely at work and maybe I should just go and talk to her. Those gut instincts, but you're still doing something. So let's look at that spectrum of, doing things with intention and then just doing things out of action. But what if all those things were actually preparing us for something that's so much bigger, that is in the future that we just haven't seen just yet? And we're taking pieces of those things that we're doing with us and moving forward. So as you move forward through your week from That's What She Said Day to the next That's What She Said Day, let's reflect. I challenge you to write down something that maybe you are doing with intention, or maybe you did with intention and now you see it come to light and like, yes, that's why I did that, or that's why that thing happened. So jot it down, add it in the comments if you're on social media, and let us know what is it that led you to where you're at today, because I'm interested. I want to know more about you. Just like we're going to learn about this wonderful guest I have across from me. We have Bridget Looby Staffileno. You can help me now.
Staffileno.
I can't even read my own handwriting, guys. Staffileno. Bridget Looby Staffileno. Thank you so much for being here today. I appreciate that.
I am so honored for the invite, Christiana. Thank you.
We know each other in passing. We know each other volunteers, and we know each other. She made me go out and run, guys. It was St. Patrick's Day, and she's like, "Hey, come join me." So, we know each other, but now we're really going to get to know each other. But for those of you who have maybe seen your face or heard your name out in the community, how might they know you?
So I am Vice President of Brand Engagement for Jolt Credit Union, and been here for 20 years. Actually, just celebrated my 20th anniversary at Jolt the other day.
Congratulations.
So been around for a long time. I was brought in
Yeah.
20 years ago, but I was brought in as the vice president of community affairs for Jolt Credit Union. It was a new department, and I was hired in. And last year, we merged the marketing department and the community affairs department together, and it is called brand engagement. So it umbrellas both of those.
Wow. Do you love it?
I absolutely adore my job, and I get choked up about it because I think, how lucky am I to be able to be in the community and be a part of an organization that is constantly giving back to the members, to the community, to the people that work there. It feels good. It feels right. You don't have to pretend to like it. My job, for the first 19 years was being involved with the community, the Diocese of Saginaw, because about in 2019, we changed our name to Jolt Credit Union. Prior to that, it was Catholic Federal Credit Union. And we changed it to be more inclusive because we saw what we were able to do with the confines of a religion. And we wanted to do more. It's not like we turned our back on being Catholic. It was, if we can do it with this, what could we do if people, right? Because people wouldn't even apply at Jolt or Catholic Federal to work there because they said, I'm not Catholic. And, no matter the amount of advertising we did, that you don't have to be Catholic to join, everything else, it just wasn't enough. So we changed our name to that. But I work with so many nonprofits in the community. I went through, within the first few years of working there, I went through Leadership Saginaw, and I love Saginaw anyway. I am so proud to be, when they say, where are you from? I'm like, I'm from Saginaw. I said, you can take the girl out of Saginaw, cannot take the Saginaw out of the girl. And so I went through that, and I love Saginaw as it was, but I fell in love with Saginaw when I went through that. And we were doing things in Midland too, before we even had our branch, but it was Saginaw Bay City and Midland.
So with the line of work that you do, you mentioned already, you're like, I love it. I don't have to love it. Like, I just love it. I'm not forcing myself to be in existence with this company. Right. So when it comes to work and loving your job, was there a time where you, maybe not at this job, but there was a time where you're like, I'm just doing the thing. This is the job that I'm at right now.
Yeah. Let me tell you, I just had this conversation not too long ago, and we were talking about, when do you know if where you are is the right place? Is it something, is it that God? And and I think there's something to be said for, this isn't working for me, see you later. If it's the right time for it, I've seen people that are like, I'm done. They watch, someone that's saying, you know what, if you don't love it, get out of there. Okay, like, back it up, slow your roll a little, because is it going to work for you? Is it going to work for your family? So you have to take into those, I think, those steps. But if it's not working for you, I've been lucky. I have really liked working at the places that I've had. But knowing when to step back and go, is this something that I want? And I tell people, you have to have that fire in the belly. And I know not everyone is going to have that fire in the belly, but you have to align with that culture, align with what they're doing. I was raised in a family. I had 10 brothers and sisters.
Oh my goodness.
Right? Irish Catholic. Yeah.
Okay.
And we were raised with faith, family, and giving back. And so for me to find this position where it aligns with everything that I enjoy, I believe in, it's really special. My son was telling me he worked for organization and or business in New York City, and he called me up. He said, my gut doesn't like it, Mom. He said there's something about the people, these vendors that they work with, that's just not sitting right. He eventually, he said, he resigned. He said, I'm not feeling it. So I think knowing, okay, is this a place that, number one, are you proud to work there?
Okay.
You know, does it align with the things you believe in and feel good about? Is it such a struggle getting up, you know, and going to work? Do you get those Sunday, like, oh gosh, I've got to go there? You know, those are things, you know, to take into account when you're maybe thinking this maybe isn't the right place for me.
So to trust your gut. So we're saying the first step here, we're reevaluate. Well, I guess the first step is to reevaluate, right?
Yeah.
To reevaluate and check in with yourself. And you're saying that number one thing is to kind of just check in on your gut and say, what does this feel like to me?
Yeah. Do you talk about your what you do, you know, when you're with family? Do you talk about what you do when you're running, you know?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's so funny because I tell people, you know, when you run, yeah, I'm a runner. When you're with your running friends, you talk about everything but running. And then you go to have coffee and then you talk about running, right?
Okay.
But no, is it something that you're telling your friends and your family about? Are you proud of it? You know, I keep going back to that. Are you proud of it? Are you feeling good about, you know, waking up in the morning and getting there? And, you know, the people you work with have a lot to do with it too.
Do you think it's hard or challenging for women to be proud of something?
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's our nature. You know, because if we're proud of something, then you think, okay, am I inviting, you know, bad things to come my way? You know, that's what, there's that guilt thing, you know, am I proud? Do I feel good about it? And if I do feel proud, is it going to be taken away from me?
Oh,
you know, it's all those women have such a weight to bear being in a position, no matter what it is. You know, a mother, a police officer, secretary, someone that works at Meyer, vice president. You know, you have a lot to carry in all these positions, and it's hard. It's hard, you know, because you do feel, do I deserve it?
Why do you think we feel that way?
Because I think that's, you know, women are built different. And it's been a man's world. And I don't want to get into this, you know, man against woman. I'm just talking about women. This is, you know, we're talking about women. And this is how most are raised. You know, you don't lift your hand up, you know, in the class when they call, you know, for answers. You wait for people to say that's good, you know, to feel good about what you do. I think we're just used to it. And I think, you know, when we say, you know what, damn, that's really good. Then it's like, oh, she's full of herself.
You're right.
And then you don't want to be full of yourself because that's not it. But, you know, it's something that we don't own, because through generations and generations and generations, we haven't owned it. You know, women haven't had a lot of agency over the years, and we're told, you know, just take it. It's okay. And we're really good at just taking it because that's who we are too.
So here's a two-part question. How do you think we can encourage and almost condition young adults to not just take it? To, you know, for the women who are going to, you know, be the future, you know, VP in branding, you know, be the future, you know, on air personalities, right? Like, how do we condition them to step up more easily?
I think, you know, that's a tough question, because I was raised by a woman who raised 10 or 11 kids, and she went back to school when she was raising, you know, us, and got her nursing degree, and then she got her master's, and she was working at St. Luke's, now it's Covenant, and then she taught at Delta, you know, so she was strong, and we never heard her complain. And so I look at that, and someone just asked me a question. Did your parents tell you you're all going to college? No, we just assumed we were going to college,
Oh.
and all of us went. And so I think, how can I say this? I think what we need to do is keep talking to them at a young age, and that's anybody. If you're the mother, if you're the auntie, if you're a teacher, or anybody that is in contact with a young girl, is keep telling them, great job. If it's a great job, keep telling them that, what do you think? How do you feel? And so it's not a close, do you feel good? Was that good for you? Have it an open-ended question, so it encouraged some conversation. I saw this. I went out to Seattle, and I went to the Seattle International Film Festival. I went out there for a conference and thought, oh my gosh, I'm here for this, at the same time. And I love documentaries, and I went to see Wonder Woman, The Untold Story of an American Superheroine. And what this documentary was about Wonder Woman, and how Wonder Woman, World War II, women didn't have these superheroes, right? Everybody had, the superheroes. We didn't have any. Finally, women had Wonder Woman, right?
Yeah.
And what was going on then? World War II. Women were going into the foundries. They were doing all the men's things. And so that's kind of like the Wonder Woman. We're like, wow, that's great. Well, what happened? And they bring this up after the men got back from war. Well, women went back to the kitchen, barefoot, pregnant, and it was mass amnesia about women could do everything. And then even the creator of Wonder Woman, started going, oh gosh, come save me, whatever her guy's name is. That's how much he, meant to me watching these. And Gloria Steinem came back and said, whoa, wait a minute. No, we need her. And so it talks about that. And so I love that film because it created some kind of a cult with these girls about Wonder Woman and the Untold, and how important it is that we have someone to look up to. So even back then, it's that Girls on the Run, that program that encourages young girls through running to feel good about themselves, giving them that confidence and that, that ability to stand up for themselves. So there are organizations out there like that.
So I'm going to ask you this. Do you think that you are a woman that other women can look up to?
Yeah, I am. I am. I am a straight shooter. I will tell you exactly what I'm feeling. I will show you what I did to get to where I want, because I tell people this time and time again when I'm asked to speak in front of people. If you want something bad enough, go get it, because you'll get it. You hear people say, well, I want to do this, I want to do that. Do you really? Because you're not doing anything to it. Just do it.
So
Start making those steps.
That kind of goes back to the steps that you were talking about, that reevaluation of yourself.
Yeah.
That gut feeling.
Yeah.
You mentioned having, the gut feeling. You have to be excited about it. And then you have to have that, you said the fire in your belly.
Yeah.
So essentially, you're using these same 3 tools to, I don't want this, and this isn't for me. Those same tools will get you in the spaces of, I do want this.
Yeah.
I need this, and this is mine.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll give them another little nugget that has really helped over the last few years when I read it. If you're not saying hell yes, then say no. Simple. If someone asks you to go do something, you're like, yeah, okay. No, don't do it. Don't do it. Unless you're saying, hell yeah, don't do it. Find something that's going to make you say, hell yes.
What makes you say hell yes?
Oh gosh, I'm a sucker for a good cause. I say yes a lot because I love giving back. I love what I'm doing. I've been on so many organizations, and And I have stepped off of those, as I'm winding down my career. But I have decided, Larry Preston, he was with Tristar Bank, and he was all over the arts organizations, and I've served on some boards with them. I said, Larry, how do you do it? And he said, Bridget, he said, when you get on a board, he said, because something about it, really, really spoke to you. And then you get on it, not quite what you want. He said, you just have to say, you know what? This isn't how I thought it was going to be. And I want someone to serve on the board that's actually going to be helping you.
Wow.
Right? Because boards, boards, nonprofit board of directors, they need to be in it. They just don't need to have their name in that, margin. Nonprofits are operating on shoestring budgets, and it's important for people when they go on these nonprofits to be ready to, be a donor, be a doer, or a door opener, right?
Ooh, yes, I like that. So essentially, you're either stepping up or you're stepping aside.
Exactly. So someone else can do it.
So all in, or you know what, there's somebody else that's can probably dedicate more time to this, or gosh, I think that's really fascinating in the sense of using these tools, right? So, and I'm going to repeat them for our listeners just here in the last minute. When you're making a decision and you feel unleery, or maybe this isn't the space you need to be in, but then when you're making a decision, it's like, yes, I'm going to move forward because I want this for me. We're looking at our gut. What is our gut telling us? What's that gut, like that instinctual feeling? But then also, are you talking about it? Which is really interesting. I hadn't heard that. Are you so excited about it? You're talking about it. What's the fire in your belly? And then, essentially, what's next, right? Is this going to lead you to that next step? So, we're going to take a quick break, so don't go too far. We have so much more to talk about with Bridget Looby Staffileno in the house. We're going to come back and dig a little bit deeper on the next couple chapters as she, quote, is winding down. We'll see how far that goes. You're listening to That's What She Said with Christiana Malacara. So again, don't go too far because we will be right back.
That's what she said. That's What She Said with Christiana Malacara is back. Now let's spill the tea.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back. Thank you for the investment in yourself each and every week as you tune in to That's What She Said with me, Christiana Malacara. Every week, I bring on an interesting woman who just has a story. That's essentially what we're doing here, is the active storytelling of women about empowerment, if it is them being poured into by someone in their life, or how they are just exerting this life of empowerment into others. And specifically with women, we, here on That's What She Said, Jonathan Dent, producer, we have this kind of motto that we go by is a student to CEO, everybody in between, the barista, the stay-at-home mom, the founder of the organization. We all have a story that is worth being heard. And it might just be parts and pieces, right? It might just be one little pearl, but my job here is to pull all those pearls out of these beautiful women, tell their story, and then string them together for you all to tune into every week. So you can do that on That's What She Said, anywhere on social media. Give it a Google. Radio 100.5 and 790 Saturdays and Sundays, and then anywhere you listen to your podcast. So who we have here with us is Bridget Looby Staffileno. Thank you for being here. In the last half of the show, we were talking a lot about just going for it, and almost when we're going and grasping for something that we want that is ours, just say it and then do it.
Yeah.
2 feet forward. Just here we go. Run with it.
Yeah.
Just go for it.
Yeah.
And just, really interesting, because you said you grew up in a family, you were one of 11 children.
Yeah.
So that must have been challenging to speak up and say, hey, me, I'm here too. I'm one of two and I'm the oldest. So, so I always was just like, hey, me, me too. So growing up in a big family with, in the last half, you said a mom who is the doer.
Yeah.
She went back to school.
Yep.
And then work and then taught. Go mom. How is it that you learned the habits to speak up for yourself and walk to the front of the room?
It's hard. It is hard. I told people, because we're saying, how now, parents, and I know myself, when your kids are growing up, great job, you did well, excellent, congratulations. Oh, but we didn't have any of that. My parents didn't, throw on the praise and that you just did it. And, we tell each other that, but it wasn't anything that I ever thought of until you thought about it. Always felt loved, always taken care of, you just did it. That was your job. Your job is, all the gifts God gives you, you use those gifts. And but it was hard. It was hard because again, going back to women, even with a strong mother, I have 6 sisters, it's 3 boys, 7 girls, and my little brother. So my poor little brother had 8 moms.
Yeah.
Right. And so, but it takes time. And I look back at, again, you go to college and you set these goals and you achieve those goals and you get married and you have kids and then unfortunately you get divorced sometimes. And then you maybe find a bad partner along the way that is abusive. And how do you fight back from that? And how do you, and that's a tough one. How do you find your voice when maybe you didn't really have a voice as big as you thought you did? And so I think me finding my voice had a lot to do. I worked for a short time with Mary Prinsing, and I'm hoping people out there remember her. She owned Prinsing and Ewan as a marketing communication full service.
Okay.
And she was one of the owners, and she was incredible. And the way she worked with her staff and how she treated everybody, she is a rock star. She was, and she helped me find that voice, when I worked on campaigns. Because she had faith in me, she wanted, she gave me that guidance, and we would have these deep talks about, what I wanted, how she got to, where she was, how she was shaping young women. There's an award named after her with the Saginaw Chamber of Commerce. And that really helped. And then when, I served as a campaign manager, Jerry Burns, I was his campaign manager. That was the first time I was like the campaign manager in charge of that. And it was a hot race. And he gave me that. And I think, over the years, then I found, I was offered a position at Jolt, and that helps again, when you get that confidence.
So in the first half, I had mentioned it without hearing the story about pieces of your journey that maybe you don't see at the time, but are leading up to something that is much bigger.
Yeah.
And you're talking about working for a woman at a marketing company 20 plus years ago, 30 plus years ago.
Yeah.
And her being that empowering person in your life, outside of your family, right?
Yep.
And that's a different too. That's a whole nother dynamic. Women, we have, we might have a mom or a grandparent or an aunt that is pouring into us with care. Maybe not these affirmations of good job, Bridget,
right?
Keep going.
Yeah.
But then we have this different type of pouring into from women who are outside of our immediate family circle.
Yeah.
That you and I, right, where we see things a little differently in you.
Yeah.
And it's a different type of love. Do you think that women need multiple and different people in their lives to pour into them differently? And if so, how can we find them?
Oh, I love this question. Thank you for asking it. Find a mentor. Find a mentor. My stepdaughter was in college. She was, I think, a junior or senior at West Virginia University, and she wanted to go on and get her master's. And she was, I don't know. I said, find a mentor. Find someone that you can talk to, someone that you can. And it ended up being a man. I too found someone, and he was a man, and this is probably about 15 years ago. And because, and again, I'm going back to, it doesn't, men, women, I don't care. We're talking about women, but find someone that you could sit down with and actually talk and get feedback, like good feedback that's not going to sugarcoat it, but at the same time, they're not going to, they're going to be generous with the things that they have to say and the things that they have to share too. Mine was Terry Moore. Terry was, I think, the first president, CEO of the Great Lakes Bay Regional Alliance. And he was a rock star. He was so generous, and he was president of, which is my Michigan, prior to that, but just how he handled himself and how generous he was. And he gave good feedback and honest feedback. And so find that mentor, find someone that you can go and have coffee with. Doesn't have to be all the time, doesn't have to be a set schedule, but someone that you can bounce stuff off of. I think finding someone that helps is really important. I think having, you have that girl, you have that girlfriend, right? And sometimes it could be a sister, but you have that girl, and there's like a scene from, who was Jeremy Renner and Matt, God, what is his name? And he said, we're going to do something. You can't ask me, what we're going to do,
but we're going to go do it.
We're going to go do it. And he's like, all right, count me in. Kind of like that, you're ride or die. And so having people who's a mentor, a close friend, and make sure that one of these friends is someone that is going to give you the truth. I always tell people, if you're asking, I'm going to be telling,
That's a good one. That's
right?
a good one. Yeah. Because you have to kind of, gosh, I can't think of a better way to say it, but just give it to them straight.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's just that form of tough love. So who is it that is currently in your circle who are these people for you?
I would say my best friend, Wendy Dorr, which is crazy. I met her 18, 19 years ago. It was at a St. Patrick's Day race sponsorship luncheon. Thank you. And I sat next to her, and I had known about the Doors, the Doors were the ones, her dad, Art Dorr, giving back to the community, Bay City, Saginaw. We have the Shaheens, Midland, the Rapanos, but the Doors. So she sat next to me, and we just clicked. And it's been an incredible friendship. I told her, I said, out of all the people that I have been friends with, and this is in no way to dismiss those, it's like one of those people that you just feel safe with, and you can just tell them anything and
it's
everything.
a different type of connection.
It is.
Yeah.
It really, and this is just so strong. Some of my closest friends I've met through my job,
Yeah.
And
it's one of those
really
things
cool.
where it's women have to, they say, like, you have to have the mom friends, and then you have to have the friends that, you could just go out and have a drink with, your ride or die, right? Your ride or die friends. And then of course my parents always instilled, then you have to have the friend who's going to, make sure you're in church on Sunday.
I like that.
Yeah. So these different types of people who hold you accountable for the pieces of being you. So we had a guest on before, and I'm going to, kind of round about this to get to the question is she had mentioned that you have to pour into yourself, right? But then inside that cup of pouring into yourself before you pour to others, inside that initial cup of you, there's multiple other cups.
Yeah.
And that could be, you know, the cup of faith, cup of family, the cup of athleticism, the cup of, you know, good eating habits, or whatever that may be. You are a busy woman. You pour into other people.
Yeah.
And how and what are those inner cups for you?
Yeah, I have a hard time with that. But at the same, you know, I say
love that honesty. No, thank you. Keep going with
yeah,
that.
yeah. Because again, you know, I love giving. I love giving. And, you know, it's, you know, what you know, how full is your bucket kind of a thing. And if you're constantly, you know, giving it, it depletes it. But I found really something special that because I love what I do, I love knowing that maybe I had a little bit to do with making something better, making someone's life better, making the community better, that it's filling my bucket.
Mm.
And I, you know, obviously I'm a runner. I run every morning, almost every six days a week. I run every morning because that's one of my biggest things that I do for myself.
That's like your equivalent to journaling, or
It is.
Yeah,
It
okay.
is. And I have paper, you know, by me at night too, that if I wake up and I think of something, I'm going to jot it down, because if you don't jot it down, I'm going to forget it.
That's a great tip.
But yeah, so it's, I think finding that space where you can say, yes, I need to step back, you know, I need that time. And if you don't tell yourself that, okay, your body will tell you. My body has told me.
How do you tell you that you need to step back?
Again, I'm horrible at that. Do as I say, not as I do. I'm still working through that. Oh my God, am I ever working through that? But I noticed that everybody starts bugging me, and no one bugs me. Okay. Like, oh God, this person's getting under my skin, and that person's getting under my skin. And I learned this at a young age. I remember being 18 and going, God, and I, you know, it sit back, because I'm not like that. And when I start being like that, I know it's not everybody. It's me. It's me. And I need to step back, and I will go to Barnes and Noble, and I will get those self-help books and happy books and everything else like that, because I have depleted those funds. I have so many. My husband will say, why are you buying that book on how to be happy? You're happy. You could write those books. And I said, I know. I said, but it's like a muscle, you know?
Why do you say that?
Pardon?
Why do you say that? Why do you say it's like a muscle?
It's like a muscle because you have to keep training it.
Oh.
You have to keep, I am happy. How am I happy? How can I pull out more happy? How can I pull out more joy? Is exercising that, right?
Thanks. Yes.
Or, you know, like a muscle, it atrophies, and it's like anything. So you have to train that muscle. And so me reading those books and me finding those nuggets, and I'm like, yeah, I like that. I'm going to put that down there. Or people to follow, you know, like Mel Robbins, you know, she's a dynamo. That's what I mean by that. Yeah. It's a muscle. It's a happy muscle.
So you're working it out to grow, though.
Yeah.
Okay. So I've never heard of this, and I also think that there's a lot of women out there who exercise the wrong muscles on accident.
Yeah.
So I'm currently going through a 10-day. I haven't shared this with anybody. 10 days of not complaining.
Yeah.
Because it's essentially a muscle. I do not want to exercise anymore.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to see the negative. I don't want to see the bad. I want to be able to not see that anymore. But then on the reverse side, you're saying, well, let's build the good ones.
Yeah.
You know, if we want bigger biceps, then what are we going to do? We're going to work out our biceps, right?
Right.
Okay. So you said when you feel like you're getting irritated and just kind of short string here, that's when you're like, okay, something's wrong. But I want to even take it back a step further and saying, you had to identify what characteristics make you. And then this was on that list of, this characteristic does not make me.
Yeah.
And so when I see her come out, that means that something's wrong.
If I'm a little negative, if I am not a negative person, I very positive, probably hyper over the top positive, but that's who I am. That's who I am. And when I see negative or like, you know, kind of, you know, kind of, I don't like that. I don't like that. That's not who I am. And I like, okay, time to recharge. And that's how I do it.
Wow. That's a great piece of advice. I really am enjoying this. And I know our listeners are going to give us that feedback because this is wonderful. You mentioned in the last half, you're winding down.
Yeah.
You're winding down. One, prove it. But two, what does that wind down look like for you? What does this next chapter or few chapters of Bridget look like?
Oh, I just listened to Mel Robbins' podcast, and it was basically talking about, okay, you know, about, you know, finding where you fit, where you work, where, you know, everything like that. And how this person said, I have unfinished business with myself.
Wow.
I have unfinished business with myself. I have worked 20 years at Jolt. And probably, I mean, I've left 4 or 5, I get 6 weeks vacation. I leave 4 weeks not touched, 5 weeks not touched. And I think with this year, with the combined, you know, this past, you know, 13, 14 months, it was hard anyway. And I just can't step away and say, well, no, it's my vacation. There's pride there. And I want to make sure that it's done properly. So I'm looking at, you know, I will be retiring at the end of December 2026. And then I want to do things that, you know, I've talked about doing. I started a book, never finished it because I'm working all the time. I thought about maybe doing real estate. I found something really cool that I love, and that is filmmaking. I was executive producer for What Happens After a Massacre, and I just finished up another executive. I want to do things like that. I would love to do little shorts, maybe even, you know,
You're full
a
of creativity.
Yeah.
And I don't think the community's seen this part.
Oh my gosh, I love writing. I love, you know, those posts on social media. I write a lot of those, and our blogs, and I love connecting with that. So those are things. I've even said real estate. I love looking at something going, yeah, good bones. Take that away. If you look that, like painting that picture, I can paint a picture. So those are things. And I want to spend time with my husband. We've been together almost 12 years, and we still have a lifetime of memories to make. I'll be 62 next month, and he's 7 years older than me. So
this is
but
beautiful.
it's my time, you know, not that this isn't, but now I can pour myself into writing and doing things like that.
That is so inspirational. You know, we learn things about ourselves as we move through life.
Yeah.
And closing a chapter is to move on to the next chapter, right?
Yeah.
So in the last minute here, I'm going to ask you a big question. What is a piece of advice that you would pass along to a woman of the Great Lakes Bay region?
Know your worth. Know your worth, whether it is in a relationship, whether it is with a job, a friendship. Know your worth. Do not discount yourself for anyone or anything. Go for it, but know your worth.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that wonderful piece of advice. It's strong, it's powerful, and that was Bridget Looby Staffileno. And that's what she said.